Let's not forget, just a couple of matches ago, we were talking about the possibility of Arteta being sacked, but that's 3 wins on the bounce now. So welcome in Julien, Frank Leboeuf and Craig Burley. Craig, there were periods in the first half today where Arsenal were just brilliant.
Yeah, and you can only beat what's put in front of you, and we know West Brom have really been up and down, draws at the Etihad and Liverpool, and then taken apart by, Villa at home and Leeds at home and now Arsenal at home. So you can only do what you can do. And, much of this, and just before we came on, we were talking about Kieran Tierney. We could talk about Smith Rowe. We could talk about Saka, who has arguably been the best player of late, a guy who's an England international now, and, he's pushing his way for a place, as we talked about last week in the squad, for Gareth Southgate going to the Euros. There's not a doubt about that. And they've got an energy about them. And I think also the fact Lacazette playing through the middle, his link-up play, I think works for him as well. So, yeah, they were excellent. Could have had probably 7 or 8 today easy, and completely took this West Brom side apart. Look, Dan, it's been a brilliant 3 games for them. That's an understatement, because he was under the cosh. And who knows what 3 defeats would have brought. But in all fairness to him, they've turned up big time. They've played well. They got a surprise victory against Chelsea. Wasn't pretty at Brighton for most of the game. And they have completely dismantled West Brom today. So they can give themselves a pat on the back short term.
And what has got to be uplifting for Arsenal fans, as Craig mentioned, Jules, is the fact that these youngsters have been thrown in very much at the deep end, and they've swum strong.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Bukayo Saka is an incredible talent, really. We knew how good he was, but to see that maturity when he's only 19, to be able to carry that team almost on his own at time, because against Chelsea he was the best player by far. Against Brighton he created the goal. Tonight again he scored what was a lovely team goal, really, one that took us back to the best of the Wenger era, really. But also all around he was so good, and someone whose decision making is already so good, so efficient. Every time he makes the right call, it's quite impressive to watch when he's only 19 years of age, and that's only his second season really with the first team, and playing like this with those kind of responsibilities. It's quite fantastic. And now Smith Rowe maybe got the inspiration from what Saka is doing as well, and Smith Rowe in a very different style of football, but looks very good as well. His energy, all the movement, all the running that he makes, and now if he can add to that side of his game and pick up the right position, but if he can add as well some assists and some goals, as we saw in the Saka goal, he's going to become even more important to that team.
What's the big change been for you, Frank?
Well, everything is in one word: confidence. I mean, first they stood up to the coach. They backed him up, and they worked hard in order for Arteta to stay at the head of the team. And after that fantastic win against Chelsea, and today the 3rd win in a row, I mean, you can feel the confidence. They're different players. The different way of thinking football when they go on the field, and you can see that easily. It's a completely different team with different players. When I see the players sometimes, when I see Bellerin and Tierney, what they do on the side, but also in defense, everybody is spot on. Everybody does what they had to do because they're confident. They're confident about their teammates. They're confident about themselves. So it works. That's what it is, and it's why we have to remember that it's only human beings are playing and not robots. And Arsenal, the Gunners, they're showing that very clearly.
Can they maintain this now?
Shouldn't get too carried away though, Dan, because we know how this season's turning out for a lot of teams. But it's certainly given Mikel Arteta breathing space to go away. He's got an FA Cup game coming up to go away and just assess it rather than be, batting the ball back to the journalist every 2 minutes about whether his job's on the line or not. And so he can at least put that to bed and hand it over to a few others. Maybe we'll be talking about one a bit later in Frank Lampard, who's going to be potentially coming under pressure. But what you asked about changes, and Frank mentioned confidence. Yes, confidence, but I think energy. And we overlook the fact sometimes with all these, data and stats and formations that sometimes it's about running about and wanting to run and wanting to get in behind. And Giles mentioned the energy of Smith Rowe, who's had injury problems, but he does give them a little bit of zest and buzz in there. And Saka does want to run in behind. And if you think about the game at Chelsea getting in behind, if you think about the second half at Brighton wanting to run in behind and play the ball in behind, and again today want to get wide and want to get in behind. So sometimes we overlook just the small facet of the game that's really important, and that's work rate. Work rate, want to go out there, want to boss the game, want to win the tackles, and let guys like Saka and Lacazette and others go run in behind and do what they do, and that's really worked well this last 3 games for Mikel Arteta.
On the other side, Craig, I was watching this game thinking, how on earth did Liverpool and Manchester City draw with West Brom?
Yeah, I mean, that is the question. And listen, that could, I don't think it will, but it could come back to haunt them at the end of the season, because that's how tight it is. And I feel for Slaven Bilic, who also had some poundings in his time as West Brom manager. There's no getting away from that, but they actually played some good stuff. I saw them play really well at Old Trafford, albeit they didn't get anything, if memory serves me right, but played some great football. And there's been lots of, and I think what we've seen here is a club who have just not had the stomach to say, okay, we're going to try and see this out with a guy that got us promoted. Norwich City under Daniel Farke, okay, they got relegated, but they stuck with them, and they look like they're going to come straight back up. Sean Dyche was relegated with Burnley in recent years. They stuck with him. They came back up stronger and got in the Europa League the next season. It looks like Sheffield United, as bad as it's been, may stick with Chris Wilder. Who knows what's going to happen? But a lot of these clubs that have stuck with their managers have came back stronger, albeit after they've gone down, rather than try and bring a manager in for a short-term fix who goes out in January, which Allardyce absolutely will, bring all these short-term answers in, whether that will work or not, and then the club's left with them. And I'm not sure, well, I am sure that's never a great long-term approach. It's been proven with other clubs, even when they've had to go down to the Championship, brush themselves down and generally come back up. That's worked better over the long term than just sacking the guy before halfway in the season who actually got you promoted in the first place.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.